Welcome into the dirty dozenth episode of the Bleav In Twins podcast on the Bleav Network. I am your host, Anders Pryor, alongside world's biggest Bachelor fan, Zac Tipton, skipping out on Collinsworth to go for reality TV. That's been sort of the big update there. That's better than anything ESPN's given me all day, Zac. I don't even need to hear a reason. I just want to know what happened because I haven't watched anything this year.
Well, basically, I had been watching The Bachelor this season just because my grandma was kind of watching it, and so I started watching with her, and then I hadn't watched it like all year, and so I got myself caught up this past week. I've been kind of getting myself caught back up, and they had the finale last Tuesday, and so I watched that finale last night. To just see what happened because I kind of had a guess of what happened and I was actually completely wrong. Basically, Jen, the Bachelorette, had 25 terrible choices. I mean, this was probably the worst cast of guys I've ever seen.
Bachelorettes, I said the Bachelor.
Here's the Bachelor, it's the Bachelorette. It was probably one of the worst group of casting of guys I've ever seen. It was just bad. It came down to the final 4 guys that went to hometowns. I really only liked 2 of them. Two of those 2 both made it into the final 3. And basically, the guy I liked the most wasn't ready for a relationship at all and just did not really see himself getting engaged directly after the show. And so she actually picked him to go to the final 2, but then he left in the finale. He just left because he's like, I'm not ready for it, and really Jen was like, you should leave because you're not ready for engagement.
I don't understand why, because you gotta submit a tape and do an audition and do all the check stuff and everything. I don't understand why you would go through, the sort of hassle of getting yourself onto The Bachelor or The Bachelorette if you're not if you're I don't know. It just seems a little fast.
Yeah, if you're not ready. Yeah, and so it was unfortunate. And so it ended up coming down to one guy who I absolutely despised and thought he was just not a good person. And he won. And so Jen, he proposed to Jen. They got engaged on the show. But they didn't show the engagement right away, which is weird. Usually they show the engagement, obviously, and you get really excited because they got engaged. But instead they cut back to Jesse Palmer, who's the host, and was like, hey, we'll be right back. Jen's going to talk about what happened here before we show the engagement. We're like, what happened here? Turns out, apparently Devin really just ghosted her, the winner. Just basically ghosted her after The Bachelor, after getting engaged. Just basically said, I was holding a lot of emotions in, wasn't really happy about the engagement, didn't want to actually be engaged anymore, and just broke off the engagement within a month of them coming back from The Bachelor. And so they did a whole episode. They brought up both of them together a month after this happened now. And they had them discussing their breakup of the engagement together. And I'm on TV, and I'm this is, I feel so bad for The Bachelorette. First of all, Jen, I feel so bad. This is terrible. She was treated terribly. Why is he even getting airtime? Secondly, and then after that all happened, they showed the engagement while they were both on stage. They showed the actual proposal and the engagement while they were both on stage. And you could just see Jen just absolutely beside herself, tearing up, upset.
Oh.
While Devin is just stone faced, and it's oh my, it was terrible. It was bad. The ending was terrible. But it was it was crazy.
I've heard, I don't know about The Bachelor. I thought I saw something on social media about how if you're a guy, one of the guys on The Bachelorette, then the conditions aren't great. Just a bunch of guys just it doesn't seem like a great show to be on. And then I don't know, I don't know. It just seems. But but I've seen clips. A lot of it seems really it's a lot of emotionally vulnerable stuff that gets just slapped together. It just doesn't seem.
Oh, it's not good. And this year also the guys just weren't great. Like I felt bad. Jen did not really get a great option for guys.
Some pools are better than others. I don't watch either of those shows, but I've heard that like there's no real consistency.
Usually I don't either, but then our mutual friend Megan got me into it like 3 years ago. And so now I'm kind of back into it. But this, I probably won't watch Raw because next season's like the Golden Bachelorette. And I just have no interest in watching the Golden Bachelorette. But yeah, so that's that.
Zac and I have another podcast called Nerds Ruin Sports. I remember in one of our first episodes, we had like a 10-minute spiff on reality TV. And I was saying to him that the only like real one that like I really watch like on a consistent basis is RuPaul's Drag Race. That's like a great show. And then I've dabbled, during COVID, I got bored and watched some Survivor. And I've also have watched in the past year a little bit of like of 90 Day Fiance and stuff like that. But like all of those like really like blue blood ones, like The Bachelor or like Big Brother or any of like the Real Housewives of insert city, I've never really or like the Kardashian stuff. Like I've never dove into that, but I feel like I should, maybe just check in and, pop my head in and see what's going on. But if the group of guys is bad, I trust Zac's perspective, and I'm sure they're just awful.
It was bad. It was bad, and it was very unfortunate. It was very unfortunate with how that worked. But
right.
It was just unfortunate. I really was hoping that Jen would find that. I'm not even gonna say it. So cringy. That's ferocious love that she was going for.
Ferocious love. Oh, that's great. So Zac and I are trying to make our bullpen player of the series a more kind of solidified award. It's now going to be, Zac, which bullpen piece do you have a ferocious love?
Oh no!
This week it's Griffin Jacks for the 4th week in a row.
It is not Griffin Jacks this week. Actually,
no.
I'm trying to think of who it actually would be this week. We'll get to that later.
I'll give you time to give time to think about that. But
we will see. But that was our Bachelor talk because
that was our nice little opening Bachelor segment. But this is a special edition of our non-baseball kind of opening riff. Week 1 of NFL football kicked off. I'd say aside from a couple of games, a pretty chalky and expected week. I think to this point, I want to say.
What would you say are the couple of games that weren't chalky? I mean, obviously the Bengals, Patriots.
12 of the I think it was like 12 of the 15 like betting favored teams won. The Cowboys, I think, but it's really 13 out of 15 because the Cowboys were technically underdogs by 2.5 points, but I don't really understood quite where that come from. Zac, before we go to, I know that you probably want to talk about the Patriots a little bit. I know you definitely want to talk about the Vikings, but before we do that, Nick Wright made a prediction on First Things First today, which I thought was spot on, and I think it's 100% correct.
Oh, and Nick Wright, one second. Let's see if I can wait. What did Nick Wright predict?
Daniel Jones. Do you want me to say it, or do you want to guess it?
Daniel Jones will not be the QB like by the end of the season, or what?
No. He said Week 4 Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys will be Daniel Jones' last start as a Giant.
Interesting. Okay.
Because
wait. Before we continue. One second. Before we continue.
Are you pulling up a Daniel Jones hate graphic to show to the audience?
I am not.
I don't believe you.
Let's see. One second here. Can we?
Because Dallas is going to win by 40 that game.
1 second. I need to figure out how to do this. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, actually, I don't know how to do that. Anyway, sorry. I tried to figure it out. We're gonna not do that. Well, there will be a Daniel Jones hate graphic at some point. There will be a Daniel Jones hate graphic at some point.
We'll get something going
on our other podcast. We want to be clear here. This is a baseball podcast, so we will be talking a lot of baseball this episode, but we will be also talking a lot of NFL stuff on our other podcast, the Nerds in Sports that Andrews Pryor mentioned earlier. We have another podcast called the Nerds in Sports where we talk about all things sports, and that mainly focuses on like NFL, college football, that stuff. So if you want to hear more NFL content, we will be doing another podcast later this week on that to actually break down this first week of the NFL season.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where you will find that stuff. There you will definitely see a Daniel Jones hate graphic. At some point, there will be a Daniel Jones hate graphic on that episode. So we will enjoy that. So very simply then, but yes, no. I agree. I think Daniel Jones is the worst quarterback in the NFL. I think he is the worst quarterback in NFL history. Let me phrase. I think he is the worst quarterback in NFL history that has gotten a second contract. That has gotten like a big time second contract.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say big second contract.
A big second contract.
I think I'm assuming you agree with me on this. Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito will combine for more starts this year than Daniel Jones.
I definitely agree with Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock will definitely have more starts. I think Drew Lock could win the starting job in New York, at least for this year.
Like not just outright.
Outright. I think he can outright win the starting job this year. Yeah. I think Drew Lock showed some sort of something in Seattle that ended last year.
The other important detail is that I forget what the name of the clause is, but Daniel Jones has like one of those like conditional IR things where if he gets put on IR, or excuse me, not IR, IL. If he gets put on, if he gets put on IR, there's 28 million, or I think it's 28 million of his contract becomes guaranteed. So he needs to be healthy so that they don't have to pay him all that 28 million of guaranteed money. So it kind of makes sense just to, pull back on him as soon as you feel comfortable, which I mean, again, like I think Dallas, like it's going to be a standalone game and they're going to lose by 40. And yep, here we go. Yep, thanks, Zach. Nice. I appreciate your honesty.
That was needed. That just had to be shown.
Shut up, please.
But Daniel Jones has more pick sixes than TDs since signing a 4-year, $160 million deal that I said from the beginning was one of the worst deals I've ever seen. I don't know why they did it. I'm still trying to figure out that why. And also, shout out to Joe Shane's final year in New York. Shout that out.
That's not, you don't clap for someone getting fired.
My guy is the most idiotic GM I've ever seen in my life, and he is going to screw himself out of the job because of how Hard Knocks turned out and how the season's about to turn out. Like Hard Knocks is gonna ruin that guy's career.
What was I gonna say? I want to say, okay, so like me personally, like I would not have given, like I don't mind in principle I think from a football optics principle standpoint, it was the correct thing to not make, to not pay him that much money with that kind of history, because he's really only had one fully healthy, great year. So I understand that.
And it wasn't that great of year. It was not that great of year.
That being said, I don't hate Joe Shane. Like optically, I think in the moment that was the right move. That being said, in the moment for the first 4 weeks, it's going to be a really bad look. It's going to be a terrible look on national TV. So I think in 2 months, it'll kind of breathe a little bit. But for the first bit of the season, it's going to be a terrible That clip of him, that clip of the Mara, I forget which member of the family it was, but the guy from the Mara family. And I'm just sighing in depression. Like that's gonna be clipped and put out everywhere. Not even just in Giants and Eagles context. That's gonna be re-memed in a couple different ways.
You could have Pat Mahomes, and he couldn't effing win behind that. I'm not giving up on him.
I agree.
Giants GM Joe. Like,
Zach, I know you don't want to spend too much time on the NFL stuff. So I want whatever kind of sermon you want to give on the Vikings and Sam Darnold. I want you to do it now, and I want to do it with more passion than you've talked about anything on this show ever.
Well, that's not possible because we have talked about Zay Matthews on this show, and so there will never be more passion than that.
No, you got me there.
But we have said, I have heard people say that the Vikings cannot win with Sam Darnold, Anders. I'm sure you've heard that. I have heard people say that the Vikings are going to be a 3-13 to 3-14 team this year. I'm sure you've heard that, Anders. Have you heard that? I'm sure you've heard that.
I haven't heard that. I have heard 6-11 though.
I have heard people say that Justin Jefferson is down to have one of his worst years of his career because he has Sam Darnold throwing to him. I heard that. Have you heard that, Anders?
I heard it, and I think I said it. I'm pretty sure.
I think you probably have. I think I heard people say Aaron Jones is washed, and Aaron Jones will not be good for the Vikings. Did you hear that, Anders? I'm pretty sure you've heard that.
I have heard that. That I do disagree with. I still think he's efficient enough.
I have heard people say that Sam Darnold, that the Vikings should go out and immediately go get Jameis Winston. Have you heard that, Anders? Have you heard that?
Is that not something that I've heard you suggest?
I definitely never suggested that. that.
Yeah, I didn't. In the moment, before that game was played, I wouldn't have hated that idea.
I've heard people say we should go get Jameis Winston. I've heard people say we should trade for a guy like Deshaun Watson. I've heard people say we should trade. I have heard we should reach out, but I heard we should trade for a guy like Marcus Mariota. I've heard stuff. I've heard people say they don't believe in Sam Darnold. I've heard a lot of people say that. I saw Nick Wright not put Daniel Jones on the mountain, on the QB mountain this past week. He left him off the mountain.
Mahomes Mountain.
I saw Sam Darnold left off Mahomes Mountain this week.
Along with Daniel Jones?
I forget where Daniel Jones is, but I believe so, yes.
Oh, that's unforgivable.
I saw a lot of people saying that the Vikings were just not going to be good this year with Sam Darnold at the helm. I would like to say to all those people, I have kept receipts. I have kept those receipts. Sam Darnold is the future. And by the future, I mean this 1 year. But he is the future. Sam Darnold is that guy. He looked good. He looked amazing. He looked fantastic. He looked exceptional. He was fantastic. And I want to be that guy to say, I stand with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is my QB. Sam Darnold is that guy. Kevin O'Connell is the QB whisperer of the future. People do not respect Kevin O'Connell enough. What he can do with any QB he has in his lineup is exceptional. And yes, that is
no, the Kevin O'Connell coach.
Sorry, my roommate just snapped me right as he heard me saying this in the other room and said, "Calm down, you beat the Giants." And I'm like, "No, I'm not calming down.
No, this is not.
We were not favored in this game. We were favored to lose this game.
That's a good point. No, exactly.
By game time, Giants were favored by -2.5. And you know what? I said, no, we are not losing to the worst QB in NFL history that has gotten a big-time second contract. That is not who we are losing to. And we did not, because our defense was fantastic. Sam Darnold was fantastic. our offensive line was solid, besides the fact that Dexter Lawrence is Dexter Lawrence, and I respect Dexter Lawrence. I am here for Sam Darnold right now, and I believe that this Vikings team is going to be fantastic.
Is Sam Darnold the Zebby Matthews of football?
I will not say that. But because I will not say that. I like Sam Darnold. I will not say he's the Matthews football because I've not watched him since he's came into the league and hoped he'd be really amazing.
Sure.
That is not that. Ivan Pace Jr. is the Zebby Matthews of football.
Oh, no, sure. I'll buy that. From knowing you, that's actually I think the perfect. If you've known Zach as long as I have, that's actually the perfect comp.
Yeah, no, it probably is. But yeah, so that was fun. Our defense, though, shout Brian Flores, and our defense, Andrew Van Ginkel.
Yes, great pick. Defensive play of the day, I thought.
Not only that, but he also had a sack, I think, as well in that game. So shout out to Andrew Van Ginkel for that. Harrison Smith with his 35th career interception. He now holds the most interceptions of any player currently active in the NFL, and he is a Hall of Famer. I do not want anyone to tell me Harrison Smith is not a Hall of Famer. Harrison Smith is a Hall of Famer, and he should be a Hall of Famer.
Nope.
Dallas Turner, first career sack. Yes.
That I didn't see, but I'm not surprised. Excuse me.
Jalen Naylor. I don't know if it's first career touchdown. I think it's first career touchdown. I might be wrong on that. But Jalen Naylor, great. Obviously, a little upset that Jordan Addison got hurt, but he should be fine. He said they think he will be available for next week.
Good. I thought it was going to take longer than that.
I believe what I saw was they do believe Jordan Addison will be available for next week. He should not miss. Let me make sure on that. One second here. Wait, no. I might be 1 second. No, I just saw it. Where did it say? He's not. But yeah, they don't believe he had a major injury. I don't know exactly where it is, but I saw a post that said Jordan Addison will not be out. I've read if it said will be available by week 4 for sure, or if it was next week. It might be week 4. I might be wrong. But no, he is hopeful for week 2. They do believe he possibly could play next week.
Right.
So anyway, that's that. But I'm very happy that we played. I'm very happy that the Vikings played. It was a good week 1 win versus a team that was definitely nowhere near their caliber of team. And I'm very frustrated with how many people believe the Giants were better than they were.
Yeah.
Because that was an embarrassing performance by New York. And yeah, so that's just my thought.
You know me, Zach. I'm gonna make this point, and then we're gonna quickly do Dylan Raiola quickly after this point, and then we're gonna get into the baseball. But
yes,
but I always hate it. You know me. I'm very against very raw coach speak, and I think Brian Daboll was asked, "Are you still confident in Daniel Jones?" And he and I think his response, and this is not exact verbatim, but I believe that his response was we all have to get better, and that starts with me. So just flatly not answering the question, just sort of responding to the implication, which I don't love. I kind of just blatantly, it was just really frustrating, and I didn't love the press conference after. But Dylan Raiola was awesome, and I got to tell you, and I was calling some people and telling them about it, and because I saw people on social media saying this too. The Dan Lanning, they're fighting for clicks, we're fighting for wins pregame speech is one of the most gracefully aged sports sound bites I've ever seen. And it's just perfect. And I think, there were takes at the beginning of the year that I didn't agree with, but now I am kind of starting to see it, where there's a real chance that Deion Sanders is not the coach for the entirety of the season. And I think there is because the easy pocket is now. These guys are going to have, they're going to face every single ranked team in the Big 12 this coming in this year. And
I think they could add a couple more, but I believe there is a good chance ASU gets ranked here in the next couple of weeks. I think ASU has looked really good recently, and they could get ranked in the next couple of weeks. And all of a sudden, Arizona State would face Colorado ranked.
I didn't know. Again, yeah, that would be 6. It'd be 6 ranked teams. I genuinely think I have every reason to cogently believe that Colorado, from an exterior standpoint, is a media gimmick, and from an interior standpoint, is a branding exercise. And a prediction that I am putting a couple of my casino chips into is that against in the first few of these ranked teams, what I think is going to happen is that Shedeur Sanders is going to get some really, really, really bad tape, and it's going to hurt his draft stock to a point where Shedeur and Shiloh and Deion are not comfortable from a branding standpoint. And eventually, I think that Shedeur, before they have to face, I forget what order they face him, but before they have to face Oklahoma State or Kansas State, or I think Utah is down towards the end.
They face Kansas State first.
Okay.
After they go Colorado, Baylor, UCF, and then they go Kansas State, Arizona, Cincy, Texas, and then Utah and Oklahoma State are 2 of the last 4 weeks.
So I think before Utah, I'll even just be conservative. Those are the last 2 games. I'll be conservative and say before Utah. I think Shedeur. I think Deion will bench Shedeur because
preserve
I think
his draft stock
to kind of pillow the draft stock, and I think there's a real chance that if that happens, there's a 70% chance that gets parlayed with Deion leaving as well, because they're kind of one cohesion. They're just kind of one sort of kind of living, breathing branding entity.
I don't know. It's hard for me to see Deion. I don't know, man. It's weird because I'm trying to figure out Deion out on whether or not he stays long. You could say he leaves now, but to me, if Travis Hunter and Shedeur both leave, and Shiloh ends up leaving too, or Shiloh's done as well, there's nothing left for Deion there. Those are those are his 3 guys. Hunter and both his sons are his 3 guys, and if they're all gone, I don't see any reason for Deion to stay if he's going to continue getting destroyed in the media like he is right now, because he's not been good. It's just I didn't even know I don't even know how to say it other than I don't even know
he's not a this is his last year of Colorado. Even if he wins out, this is his last year at Colorado. But because of the fact of who's leaving, and because he has those guys to promote, and makes the promoting at least a little bit believable in terms of its validity and substance. So once he doesn't get any more access to that, he's done, right? Unless they decide to transfer last minute, but we know that that's not going to happen. And so, but I think that if he, excuse me, I think there's a chance they, go from 4 wins to 3 wins, maybe. They, the exit will be very ugly. And also, again, from what I said previously, I don't know if he stays the whole year. I don't know if that's going to be – I don't think he's going to be fired. because I think that the school is so kind of kneeling to Shador. And then that's going to be the one way. That's option A. And option B, I think, is the one that I said. And I think the more likely one, which is that before they get to Utah, if they have by that point only one more win under their belt, they're going, against like Cincinnati or something, then I think he's going to get pulled, because I think the draft stock is going to be too low by that point. They don't want it to get any worse. So it's just really unfortunate. I think it's bad for football, and yeah, I kind of get frustrated talking about it, but
yeah, no, listen, Dion is always a media stunt for me. It's very hard for me to see it. It's very hard for me to look back and look at Dion and that TCU win last year, when there was so much optimism with the program, feels like a decade ago.
I know.
Does it not?
No, does it not? Really does. That was a long year ago. You're right.
That was because that was literally that was week 1 of last year when they upset TCU, and everyone was immediately started riding Dion. Immediately. Media, everything started riding Dion after that TCU win.
Right.
They go and destroy Nebraska, or they beat Nebraska. They go and beat ASU. They beat a couple other teams as well. They get ranked, and all of a sudden everyone's saying Colorado was ranked, and then they win one or two of their last 10 games. They win 2 of their last 8 games. So no, for me it was pretty simple. Dion this was bad. This is bad. This is bad for Colorado as a program. Besides the money they're getting, this is just not good for Colorado as a program.
I think this was the perfect win for Dylan Raiola. This was the perfect kind of inflated opponent that he kind of just needed to sort of put his foot in against, and really just hammer in. So, take the media dollar and just kind of hammer it in. I think that's really, I think that was a really kind of poetic and nice sort of way to exit the weekend. But I think that's going to do it for our non-baseball.
Yes, we probably should move on here. So,
in terms of, to kind of transition to baseball, in terms of.
One thing I did see. I want to bring it up quick. I just saw this. Sorry. Sam Darnold is officially by PFF the number 1 ranked QB in PFF ranking in week 1.
Oh, great. Okay.
Just want to point that out. Just want to throw that out there.
Pointed, noted, digested.
Okay, now we're good.
Pointed, noted, digested, embraced.
And Kadarius Toney is officially a Brown. That is also the new.
Yes.
That is Brandon.
Yes.
Not that anyone really should care, because Kadarius Toney really doesn't great. But yeah. Okay, continue. Now we can move on.
In terms of non-twin baseball stuff, there's nothing, Zach and I talk about, there's nothing too much of note. Usually when we try to do the non-twins baseball part of our show, a lot of it is it's designed to kind of digest and sort of evaluate the AL Central specifically, if we have the opportunity to focus on it. The Twins faced the Royals this week, so they're they faced the Royals over the weekend. So there's not the kind of update on the AL Central is the Twins game. That was really the highlight of it. The one kind of quick note would be Jason Dominguez, number 1 prospect for the New York Yankees. I believe the number 17th ranked prospect in the MLB Top 100 pipeline. Zach, you can check me on that if you want. It's either 7.
I have it pulled up, so I got you. 16.
16. Okay. Is being called up to the major leagues, which I think, I think is the right move. The Yankees are a championship pursuing team, and I think, they need to have the best 26, 27 guys out on the roster. And this, I think, is a reflection of that. I think it was a little tone deaf when he was not, brought in for September call-ups, and I know now he's here, and I think that it's a really it's going to be a really sort of nice kind of circle tie-in, to into the end of the season. So that's kind of, Verdugo's season has been a little bit segmented. Obviously, now you give Judge a little bit of flexibility where, if you want to give him a night off and make him the DH, you can, or, make sure he doesn't have to cover quite as much ground, by putting him in the corners. There's a lot of flexibility now. DJ heads to IL, unfortunately. So now, Oswaldo Cabrera is going to be full-time third base, I Bleav, now that Rizzo is back at first and Rice is in the minors. So, but it's I think it's just a really cool thing. I think it makes the most sense from just how can the roster be at its best today standpoint. And I also just think, from principle and optics, it makes the most sense as well. Zach, I don't know if you have any specific thoughts there.
Not really. Obviously, I always love when I see a top prospect get called up. I think it's so cool in baseball when that happens. But I have nothing really more to report. Obviously, not a Yankees fan here. If you're a Twins fan, you definitely aren't a Yankees fan. But obviously, I do love seeing a good prospect get called up. Hopefully, he just doesn't do like a Derek Jeter thing versus the Twins in the playoffs that Derek Jeter did every single time he came. Or an A-Rod. But no, that was fun. But that's really all we have. And the other thing we could bring up is like the Tigers are only 3.5 games back after winning 2 of 3 versus the Athletics. They're only 3.5 games back, and that gap keeps kind of closing. The Twins need some wins here against their kind of couple of weak opponents they're facing here in the next week to really kind of lock themselves in. But right now, we're kind of moving on to the Twins. I kind of want to move on to them and kind of just get talking about this because there are some things I want to bring up. There are 2 things I want to bring up that are non-game related for the Twins. I want to bring up quick. One is the injury reports. We just got a big injury report, we think, from Carlos Correa, who has not really felt as much pain in his foot in the last 4 to 5 days as he had in the past. And so there is a hope that Carlos Correa will be back on the field very soon. Byron Buxton as well is day-to-day as well in terms of that. So hopefully we get him back as well. And then they are bringing up Cedar Rapids pitchers to pitch against Correa, Buxton, Kepler, and Margot to try to get them back in and seeing baseballs. So hopefully that works out for them. And then that's really it for injuries. Obviously, the hope would be that before the regular season ends, with the hope that before the Orioles series even, all those guys are back on the roster and can help the Twins late September and get themselves warmed up for the possible September postseason run we need them for. That is that. The other news I want to make, other piece of thing I want to bring up is officially, I Bleav it was yesterday. It might have been this morning also. I think it was yesterday though. Walker Jenkins was called up to Double-A, which is a really big prospect news for the Twins. You want to talk about no matter what. It's pretty obvious, but Walker Jenkins was absolutely dominant at High A. I don't have the exact stats, which I do. He had 290 with 3 homers in 34 games. And only had 24 strikeouts and 41 slugging. He was very, very good in High A, and he is officially making his Double-A debut. So really hyped for that. Really hyped to get him in Double-A. Obviously, that also means that, he's only 2 steps away from the majors. And so I assume we'll keep him in Double-A for a while next year to get him kind of in Double-A before we eventually move him up to Triple-A. But we are looking at it like there is a possible chance that Walker Jenkins could be in the majors next year, but that's rare. I'd assume he probably wouldn't get a major league look until 2026. But with him being in Double-A this year, if he goes crazy in the next rest of the season, as well as goes crazy next year to start the season, there is a legitimate chance that Walker Jenkins finishes the year as like a September call-up kind of thing. And there's a legit chance of that. So shout out to Walker Jenkins. Thank you for being the future of this Twins franchise. And I look forward to seeing you at the number 1 spot in the MLB Top 100 prospect rankings very soon.
No, his ETA on the Pipeline website is listed
2026.
It's listed at 2026. Although I do think that your 2025 September call-up target is not super unrealistic. I think it's more unlikely than likely. I do think that it is more on the table than
there is a possibility of it. I don't think it will happen. Like I think we will try to kind of slowly bring him in. So I do believe that like come spring training, I assume he'll be I assume he'll be on the opening day roster in 2026. That is my prediction. He will be on the opening day.
As a quick bit. And obviously, if you answer one way, particularly, they're like it's fine. Did you before that draft, the 2023 draft? Did you have a strong just as prospects? Did you have any sort of strong preference between Max Clark and Walker Jenkins?
I wanted Walker Jenkins personally, just because I had heard more about him. And also, I kind of assumed he'd be the guy at our spot that would fall to us.
Right.
And so I wanted Walker Jenkins more.
Because there were talks about Clark going first that year. That was a very
all 5 of them had talks of going first. Like those 5 guys were all like would have been first round picks in different drafts. So like that's why it was such a elite class that we got lucky on, because we had like the 12th spot in the lottery and we got the 5th pick. And so that's how we got Walker Jenkins in the 5th spot in the first place.
Yeah.
So getting Walker Jenkins was massive because obviously he was a top 5 guy, and those top 5 guys were all expected to be like I mean, you look at it now.
And just for
Cruz,
the audience,
it was Cruz, it was Skeens.
Yep.
It was Cruz, Skeens. Max Tucker, I think, went 3. Wyatt Langford went 4. And then Walker Jenkins went 5.
Yes, Skeens first, then Cruz.
It was Skeens first, then Cruz, yeah. It was Skeens, Cruz, I'm laying out. It's Skeens, Cruz, Clark, Langford, Jenkins. And I personally wanted Jenkins. I wanted the high school guy. I wanted the high school prospect. And I like Jenkins a lot more than I like Clark, just media-wise, I thought.
Yeah.
But I liked Jenkins for sure. And I liked them all though. Like heck, if we got any of those 5 guys, like I knew we were gonna get one of those 5 guys, I'd have been happy with either of them. Anyway, I knew we wouldn't have a chance on Skeens or Cruz, but like if Langford would have fallen us at 5, I would have said hell yeah. But I was very happy we got Walker Jenkins. Walker Jenkins is who I kind of wanted. And yeah, so no, I was very hyped. I was very hyped with that. But yeah, so Walker Jenkins is going to be a future. Like I said, I think my prediction is opening day roster 2026 will be his.
Yeah, I think the sort of idea of it was going into it was that Jenkins, I think, was the more kind of refined and honed in sort of bat, like at the time of being drafted, versus I think Clark was viewed as the more sort of higher upside and kind of naturally gifted athlete, and from like a runner's perspective, and like in terms of like room to, in terms of like just raw power stuff. But so, the Twins being in the position to get one of those 5
guys. I mean, those 5 guys were all considered immensely more valuable prospects than any of the guys that were considered to go 1 this year. And you're seeing that.
Yes.
Because you're seeing that in terms of like, who was the number 1 pick this year? Do you remember? Was it Condon or was it Bazana?
It was Bazana.
It was Bazana. Bazana is ranked 12th on the prospect list, and right. Condon's ranked 11th. None of those, like I believe, if I remember reading correct, I don't think Walker Jenkins, Max Clark, I don't believe Walker Jenkins, Max Clark, Wyatt Langford, Paul Skeens, or Dylan Cruz were ever ranked that low on the prospect rankings.
No,
Actually, I might be wrong about that. I think Clark and Jenkins started 11, 12. But like that was only because you also had Cruz, Wyatt Langford, and Skeens to throw in there. But yeah, no, it was crazy. Like that was insane.
just to have this on just to have this on record, and I'll ask you to make this same prediction too before we get to the actual games. I think Chase Burns is going to be the best player in this draft class.
Chase, you said Chase Burns?
I said Chase Burns' slider is going to establish itself as one of the 10 or 15 in a couple years is going to establish itself as one of the 10 or 15 best pitches in baseball.
I also would not be surprised if like Halen Culpepper makes the top 100 here very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Halen Culpepper is just on the verge of the top 100 for the Twins, and I think he could be in the top 100 very, very soon. Because he has been very good, obviously.
Right.
And David Festa has officially graduated from prospect status here, so that's that. Yeah. Okay, we only have 15 minutes left, and we have a lot of Twin stuff to get through, so let's get through this kind of quickly here. Basically, this series was terrible. There's no way of sugarcoating it. This was the worst series I think I've seen the Twins play in a long time.
This is easily the worst series that the Twins have played during the existence of this podcast.
Oh, without a doubt. That's not even a question. I don't think I think we've only lost like one series since the start of this podcast.
Yeah.
Or one or two series since the start of this podcast. But no, this was terrible. This was bad. It was awful. Looking at the game specifically, the game I want to focus on is the game that gets the most talked of right now is Game 2 versus the Royals. Yep. Bailey Ober went out there and had 7 incredible innings. I mean, they were 7 almost perfect innings for Bailey Ober.
Streak is back at 2.
Yeah, 7. Bailey Ober had 7 incredible streaks versus a team that had kind of been owning him early in the year. He had an incredible out. And then with 83 pitches in the 8th inning up 2-0, Rocco doesn't bring him out. He instead brings out Yohan Duran to start the 8th inning. Yohan Duran gives up 3 earned runs. He then brings out Griffin Jackson in the 9th, and Griffin Jackson gives up a run. The Twins ended up losing the game 4-2. And Anders, when you hear that, when you see that, as a starting pitcher, do you think Bailey Ober was very upset at not being sent out in the 8th inning there with only 83 pitches?
Yes, because the thing is, like, you've alluded that throughout the time of this podcast, and you mentioned it there, like, this is a team that has owned him. And so he's like, if this was like a real opportunity to get the monkey off of his back and kind of really assert some legitimate, cogent, tangible rhythm against a team that he has struggled against. And so if you want him to really paint that picture, to let him get the final punch in, there is no, it's not like he's, it's not like he's pushed 105 through circumstance the past couple of games, and you want to play conservative right there. So I agree. I don't really, I know that in the, Zach and I, you and I do use metrics on this show to like back up what we say. And I know that a lot of people in that sort of space do think that the third time through the lineup, like breakage of things and how people perform, that's how starters perform, is very real, and it needs to be taken more seriously. But I mean, I don't. But again, like he was already through. If he's doing good, and you have. I mean, if you go through his precise stat line, like again, like the eighth inning, where the Royals got all of their runs, right? Again, I'm quite frankly, I'm shocked that you didn't open up this whole thing with Duran. But again, right, like you can't tell. I know, even if Ober, this is the frustrating part. Even if Ober, like he has 17 more pitches to work with, even if he kind of like trips up a bit towards like that last stretch, I guarantee you whatever was going to happen against the team that has open, I guarantee you it would not have been as just flat disastrous as whatever Duran was doing. So
Well, I will say this because I'm in defensive rocker here, because here's the thing. When you're up 2-0 in a game that is kind of a must-win almost, going to your best two pitchers, two of the best relievers in baseball, should not be frowned upon, right? Like, sure. There is a case that's like, listen, we understand Bailey's at 83 pitches. He retired the last 15 batters. Like, I get there is a case to obviously say send him back out, but this team has kind of crushed Bailey Ober all year long, and when you're going to go out there and you're going to send out two of the best relievers in baseball to hold this game down that they've been able to do almost every single time they've done it this year, I don't see that as a bad decision. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that as a bad move. Do I want to see Bailey Ober go out there and get another eighth inning and try to go get a complete game shutout? Absolutely. But do I understand why we didn't? Absolutely. We needed a win, and we felt that giving our best two relievers who've been able to shut down teams all year was the best move.
I agree with you, like in just terms of like game, the optic, like in like optics of game management. I actually think you're dead on. I would just feel for this game specifically a lot more comfortable if he had 96 pitches instead of 83. Yeah. I think his momentum and the way he was calibrating the strike zone,
absolutely,
and really fitting with it. I would, fit. That's, I just threw it a number 96, right? That's 13 pitches. You can get through two batters there, and even if even a solo shot to someone, that's still entering the last stretch of the game up 2-1 instead of down 4-2. And maybe Duran comes in the ninth and blows it anyway. But I would have liked to, if the guns are hot, keep shooting, right? And you know me, I'm not a person who really believes in like the hot hand. Like I don't, and like the idea of like people, I think, momentum is hard to quantify, but like he had 83 pitches. Like that's through 7 innings. Like if you have the opportunity to spare someone, like he was doing good. Like he'd already kind of creeped into the third of the lineup and pitched a shutout in the 7th. So,
we'll move on here from that quickly because there are some more stuff we need to talk about in this series. First off, the offense was flat out just terrible. Let's just say what it was. 2 runs in 3 games is terrible. Royce Lewis, I love the guy. Like, he is my guy. We will always love Royce Lewis. He has been flat out unplayable the last 2 months of this season. The last month for sure. He has been almost flat out unplayable. He's not been good. Julian hitting leadoff is crazy to me. I don't know how that's possible. Just our entire offense is not good. I will say, shout out to I believe, was it Festa that pitched the first game? Do you remember? No, it was Zebby.
The first,
the first game was Zebby, and he didn't pitch that great. Zebby struggled in that first game. I didn't think it was terrible from Zebby. I thought he did okay. I'm just there is worried. So I mean, at this point, he's a number 5. He's a number 5 starter at this point. I will say though, I thought Richardson looked very good in the first 4 innings of that game, and then obviously got in trouble in the 5th and couldn't get through 5, which I know Anders really wanted to see him get through 5.
Yep.
So for him not to get through 5 and actually get taken out in the 4th because he had bases loaded was kind of unfortunate, but it actually worked out well. We only allowed 2 runs there in that inning. and we didn't allow any runs just the game, and we gave our team a chance to get back in this game, and they couldn't do because our offense was terrible. So that's that. The major issues here are we're flat out just not hitting the ball. Ryan Jeffers, Brooks Lee haven't been good. Willie Castro's fallen back a little bit as well. It's just, and Edward Julian is saying 219 this season. I still don't know how he has a job, but that's only because Carlos Correa is not back. I just don't get it, man. This team is so bad offensively. We need Correa and Buxton. They're our only hopes at this point. You know that scene in Star Wars that everyone knows? Anakin, not Anakin, Luke, you're my only, no. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope.
Yeah.
Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, you're our only hopes. It really is that. So we'll see how that goes. But that is that. We have 6 minutes here, and I kind of want to trying to keep it around an hour. So we're going to try to kind of rush through this as much, which kind of sucks because I don't like rushing through predictions. But It's the Angels, so I'm just going to say we're going to win all three. But God, I hope. But no, I do believe we win the first. I think David Festa has looked very good, and I think Reed Detmers is not good. So very simply, I think we win the first. Game 2 is Pablo's start, which means we win that one because Pablo's a GOAT, and we love him. Second, and then the third one is interesting. It's Zebby Matthews versus Jack Kuchanowicz, who has not looked good either. So neither of those two pitchers have looked great. That will be an offensive bloodbath, honestly, in my opinion, and I don't know if our offense can keep up. So we might win 2. I'm going to say we for sure in the first 2. And the third one, I have no idea. I'm going to go 2-1. I think we lose Zebby's start. But I would love to see Zebby. But actually, Zebby has pitched well versus bad teams. And so I'm going to make the prediction that Zebby has a good game. I'm going to make the prediction that Zebby has a good game and we get 3 wins. That's my prediction. I think we sweep. Go ahead.
I'm going to say a sweep as well. Yeah, no, Reed Detmers, kind of sort of a very kind of trendy kind of breakout candidate for a lot of people that has not really sort of fleshed out. Griffin Canning, solid couple years. This year has been, a little shaky, 5.02 ERA, 113 strikeouts, which is not disastrously bad, but that was a perceived sort of strength of his. And then Kuchanowicz, I know nothing about. Again, Zebby against shaky offenses, taking a peek at some of the sort of rankings and metrics and modeling for the Angels offense. It's just bad. Aside from of their ability to steal bases, it's bad everywhere. 20th in average, 29th in OPS, 27th in total runs scored. So I will say,
and to be fair, Zebby has not really faced a bad team up to this point.
No, but this is
like the worst team he's faced up to this point is the Cardinals, and he went 5 innings, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts.
Right. So this is a real kind of break-in opportunity.
This is the real worst team he's faced to possibly get himself back in a rhythm and figure out what's been going wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So
I would agree with you on the sweep. I'm gonna tail you on that.
I would love a sweep. We kind of need a sweep. We kind of need a sweep.
Oh yeah, not just in terms of morale, but in terms of like wild card implications. With Zach mentioning how the Tigers are getting just closer and closer and closer every series, we kind of need a sweep for mathematical reasons.
Also, we did not go this earlier since we only have 3 minutes here, and I kind of want to get through. We kind of made our predictions 3-0, 3-0. I've had to bring this up earlier in the non-baseball section, but in terms of big-time prospects making the MLB debut, Kumar Rocker was just called up.
I missed that. Great. Thanks for catching.
And this is a big-time call. Like, this is a guy that, has been projected every time. Like, was a 2-time top 10 pick, I think. And he's finally making his debut. And I'm excited for Kumar Rocker. I'm excited to see what he can do. He's a number 2 prospect for Texas. He's a number 97 prospect overall. I'm excited to see what Kumar Rocker can do in his debut. But that's the last thing I will have.
Yeah, no, good note. Would not have thought about that. Kind of, if you look at his pitching profile, it's I made my call that I'm going to have on record now that Chase Burns is going to be the best player from this draft class. Very similar pitching profile, the two of them, him and Rocker. But yes, no. Little shorter on the baseball side because it's not a crazy.
And it was not a fun week to talk about.
We delayed the inevitable as much as we could because it's not super fun to talk about this week.
But we will eventually get better at talking about the non-fun stuff because there will be non-fun stuff that do happen.
Yeah.
But okay. We do have to end this. We do have to wrap this up. So, Anders, would you like to do the sign out here?
I'd love to do the sign off offer. But even a bad week for the Twins is always a fun week.
Yes.
Here on the show with Zach and with you guys. But had a lot. But aside from the results, lots of fun today. So to send it off, this has been the Bleav in Twins podcast, Dirty Dozenth episode. I have been alongside Zac Tipton. I have been Anders Pryor. You can check out the Bleav in Twins podcast and all other Bleav Network content on the Bleav.com website. And also listen to us directly through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your sports media throughout the week. If you are watching us here on YouTube, please subscribe and turn on post notifications so you know whenever we post on Mondays and Thursdays.
Yes.
Go Twins.
And also go check out the Nerds Room Sports podcast on YouTube. There will be a link down below in the description for you. We do take a lot of pride in that. And we will be posting another episode here this week. Yeah. And we will be seeing you guys. The next episode will come out on Friday because the Twins do have an off day on Thursday. So most likely we will be doing our post on Friday because like we said, when the Twins have an off day, we usually give ourselves an off day. So Friday will most likely be our day where we will post this next Bleav in Twins podcast.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. So good. We will. Yeah. We try to, that's a system that we've kind of
adopted
sort of so that we can all sort of rest and then regroup when Taco goes to work, we go to work.
Absolutely. But anyway, well, that was fun, guys. We really appreciate you.
Zach, and you as per usual. Go Twins. We'll see you guys later this week.
Peace out.